Hello, friends and viewers. Virginia Woolf is famous for his concept of stream of consciousness. So, this novel, The Waves, is written by her, Virginia Woolf. This Waves, which the same is published in 1931. The Waves. The Waves is the portrait of the intertwined lives of six friends. There are six friends: Bernard, Neville, Louis, Ginny, Susan, and Rhoda. The novel is divided into 9 sections, each of which correspond to a time of a day and symbolically to a period in the lives of character. Each section begins with a detailed description of the course of this symbolic day. The first section deals with an early morning or childhood where the 6 main characters are attending a day school together. As each of children awakens, he or she begins an internal monologue composed of thoughts, feelings, and impression. The children interact in various ways throughout the day, and each begins to take shape as an individual in response to the stimulus provided by the world and by the presence of one another. Although their thoughts are somewhat incoherent and mostly fixated on immediate experience, their distinct personality begins to emerge. Bernard's loquacity and obsession with language, Neville's desire for order and beauty, Louis' insecurity and ambition, Jenny physicality, Susan's intensity and attachment to nature, and Rhoda's dreamlike abstraction from ordinary life. So the second section deals with the adolescent life. After the boys and girls have sent off to their separate boarding schools, Bernard, Louis, and Neville differ in their reaction to the school's authority and tradition, and they all form friendship with Parsival, a popular, handsome boy who is to become a central figure in the lives of the 6 main character. All 3 boys develop literary ambitions of some sort, though they differ markedly in their goals and expression. The girls mostly want school to be over and done with. Ginny desires to begin her real life in society. Susan longs to return home to her father and her farm. Rhoda wants an escape from the disruption of her mental solitude caused by school. At the close of the section, each character sets out, whether for college work or otherwise, on the more solitary track. The third section traces the characters through young adulthood. Bernard and Neville are at college together and remain close friends. They both admire Percival, but Neville has fallen in love with him. Percival has become the focus of Neville's desire for beauty and perfection. Bernard is concerned with his own gregarious nature and thinks deeply about the way his personality is constructed out of his relationship with others. Neville shares one of his poems with Bernard, and the moment is important for both of them. Louis is working as a mid-level clerk at a shipping firm in London. He spends his lunch hour reading at a dinner and people watching, hoping to make poetry out of his observation of everyday life. Susan is at home on her farm and communes with the rhythm of natural life. She walks across the fields before dawn and senses growth all around her, though she begins to submerge her own active will. Back in London, Jeannie and Rhoda attend the same party, though their experiences are very different. Jeannie comes fully alive in the social setting, and she takes a great uh, sensual pleasure in the beauty of her surrounding and her own personal attractiveness. Rhoda, on the other hand, feels negated by others around her and longs to disappear. The fourth section is set later in adulthood and centers on a dinner party meant to honor Percival, who is leaving for a position in the colonial government in India. At the party, the six characters are united again. At first, the group is tense and uneasy in one another's company, and they primarily notice their differences. When Parsival arrives, however, these tensions are relaxed and the group comes together. Briefly, the friends are united in a moment of true communion, and their individual voices seem to blend. All too soon, however, the moment ends and the groups dissolve back in its singular part. The fifth section takes place not long after the dinner party, when the friends have learned that Parsifal has been killed in India. Neville is devastated by news, overwhelmed by the sense of death and the fragility of life. Bernard is torn between joy and sorrow. His child has just been born and his friend has just died. Bernard goes to a museum to look at the painting and finds a kind of solace, even as he is aware that his memories of Percival must inevitably fade. Rhoda finds a similar solace in music when she attends an opera soon after she learns of Parsival's death, and she finds the strength to go on for a time. In the sixth section, the characters have entered full maturity. Louis is rising in his farm and leads a sort of double life. Although he is respectable businessman, he is drawn to the seamier side of life and spend his time roaming around poorer neighborhood. Louis and Rhoda have become lovers. Susan is a mother now, both deeply gratified and stifled by her chosen life. On one hand, she is fully a part of cycle, natural natural life. On the other hand, her own life has become subordinate to the lives of her children and an ongoing life of the farm. Ginny continues her purely physical existence, taking lover but never sitting down, content to reveal in her own being. Neville also moved from lover to lover, but in his case, he's trying to keep the intensity of first desire alive. It is the source of his creativity. Then the seventh section deals with the midlife. As the character began to age, Bernard has traveled to Rome, where he observed the ruins and tries to come to terms with his own sense of failure, as he has begun to doubt both his own abilities and the ability of stories of capable reality. As Susan sinks deeper into her rural and domestic life, she regards what she has lost, even as she finds a measure of contentment in what she has gained. Ginny has a moment of dread in which she sees that she is aging and her beauty is fading. She reconciles herself to the inevitable passage of time, however, and resolved to make the most of her remaining years. Neville is becoming a successful writer. He is mellowing a bit, but he continues to shift the focus of his desire from lover to lover. Louis raises ever higher in his form, but still returns to his attic room to write. Literature seemed to him as idealized realm, even as his eyes is continuously drawn to the street. Rhoda has left Louis and traveled to Spain, where she too has a moment in which she comes to face with death, here in the form of vast sea scene from the cliff. In the eighth section, the friends once again gathered for a dinner, though this time the meeting is shadowed by death. Thanks both to their increasing age and to the absence of Percival, although there is a tension among friends, as at the earlier meeting, his tension is resolved as they begin to share their common experiences. The character have lived long enough to know that his meeting is one such common experience, and they have another moment of silent communion. Though the moment is elegiac rather than triumphant, Rhoda and Louis have a quiet moment together as the other walk into the park, but it inevitably comes to an end. The ninth and the final section is entirely from Bernard's point of view. Bernard speaks to a casual acquaintance over dinner and tries to give a summing up of his life. Bernard is still doubtful about the accuracy of any representation of reality through language. He tries to give a sense of texture of his life rather than making sweeping statement about. Bernard discusses the other and how things have turned out for them, including the fact that Rhoda has killed herself. The most profound moment Bernard describes is one in which he himself seemed to move behind language into a direct perception of reality. In the end, however, Bernard sees his life as an attempt to use language to fight against death, and he sees how the others have, in their individual ways, been part of the same struggle. Bernard vows to keep fighting until the end. So, this is the story of The Waves by Virginia Woolf. We see that in the themes of this story is revolving around the influence of other on the self. Throughout the wave, the characters struggle to define themselves, which they do through their relationship with others. Bernard articulates this struggle most clearly. He realizes that he who is dependent on whom surround him his words and thought change in relation to his companion. So, the desire for order and meaning. As the character struggles to define themselves, they must learn to make sense of impression they flash before them and sweep them along. Each character longs for a sense of order and wants to find something lasting in a world of constant change. Louis, Neville, and Bernard have literary ambition. For Woolf, one of the functions of literature and art in general is to bring order and meaning to the confusion of life. Life itself is depicted in The Waves is a constant stream of sense impression and random events. Art can be placed outside of the flow of time, where our fleeting perception can be. The acknowledgement of that. Much of the character's self-knowledge begins in recognizing their own mortality. Louis and Rhoda in particular are aware of loss and emptiness from the beginning. They all must confront death when Parsifal is killed in India. Each of the character must then struggle to incorporate knowledge of death into the structure of their lives, and each follows an individual path with different success. Death functions as a kind of reality principle in the novel, reminding the character that their time is not limitless. That is the enemy that Bernard sees facing them all by the end. 5 of 6 characters in some way or other make a commitment to life in the face of death. Neville and Louis through art, Susan through natural world, Jeannie through her own physicality, Bernard through language. Rhoda is the only one who does not commit to life. Bernard is a point of awareness of death. So these are the themes involved in this novel, The Waves by Virginia Woolf. And this is no doubt a very marvelous and outstanding novel in my view. I hope you will enjoy it. Thank you.